The Fragrant Flower Blooms with Dignity is a special anime. The animation, the relationships, the romance are all firing on all cylinders. Every episode felt like it went by in the blink of an eye, which made watching it weekly as it released a truly agonizing experience. As the series concluded and began to settle in the larger space, two criticisms popped up from those who didn't care for it, and the complaints are interconnected. First, nothing happens. There are no huge conflicts in the season, no major goals being worked towards by any of the characters. The second issue, and the more prevalent one, is that the anime is an apology simulator. Every conflict is headed off, cut short by the characters apologizing to each other. All of the arguments end the same way, with "I'm sorry" being the entire flowchart of resolution. Over and over again, I have seen this criticism, to where I think it has almost lost its meaning and become the standard answer for why someone who doesn't like the show feels the way that they do. Honestly, I think it's pretty funny. Apology Simulator is also quite clever, the sort of short and repeatable phrase that gets lodged in your brain from the moment you hear it. The funniest part, though, is that I don't disagree with that assessment at all. First of all, it's just factually accurate. The characters apologize a lot. Casually, grandly, when it's not even really relevant. But more importantly, I think that it's kind of the point. Fragrant Flower is not a romance where the apologies are sprouting up like weeds, annoying and unwanted. The apologies are the rose bushes in this metaphorical garden, trimmed and carefully considered as centerpieces. They are the backbone of the story, the climaxes of the most important scenes. Maybe most importantly, the rest of the show is built in a way that maximizes their impact. The apologies are not distractions, they're the whole point. The world of Fragrant Flower is all about extremes. The relationship between Kikyo and Chidori is openly antagonistic and threatens to keep our main couple apart. The ways that the students interact with each other are so extreme that they border on ridiculous. It doesn't feel like real life, which is a bit of a break from romance anime, no? A lot of other shows in the genre are slice of life series, where the emotions are heightened for emphasis, but the worlds are very believable. It's not just limited to the school dynamics, though. A lot of Fragrant Flower's plot points are extremely emphasized. Rintaro's exams, the big school baseball tournament, the roaming group of thugs that Rintaro and his friends take out, the dolphin show at the aquarium, even the process of Rintaro making Kaoruko's birthday cake. This feels like a world where everything is the most important thing ever. Even the characters themselves are a bit larger than life. Rintaro being a person who strikes fear with just a look. Kaoruko being tiny with hair that looks like it has a mind of its own in some scenes. They're not caricatures, but they're caricature-ish, if that makes sense. Fragrant Flower is not a show that is afraid to be self-important, and to ramp up the stakes at a moment's notice. It's a roller coaster world that demands to be taken seriously, which is tough to pull off if the emotional core is not strong. So this is the backdrop upon which the apologies take their central place. I think that apology here is shorthand for communication. Open and honest conversations are Fragrant Flower's keystone, the most important moments the show has to offer. It's the contrast between the oversaturated world and the simple resolutions that gives the dialogue of this anime such power. The first major emotional conflict of the story is when Rintaro lets the Chidori-Kikyo dynamic impact his perception of Kaoruko. Even if it's not malicious, he's indicating to her that he perceives part of her identity as being from Kikyo, letting this cloud his vision of who she really is. And of course, since we are inhabiting this world where the Chidori-Kikyo feud is as serious as something can be, this is a major complication. Kaoruko is rightfully upset. afraid that Rintaro can't or won't see past this. This is a big conflict, nested in the core of the anime itself. So what is the resolution? Rintaro, with some help from his mom, introspects and realizes what he did wrong. And rather than stewing on it or planning an elaborate scheme, he shows up at Kikyo early the next morning and apologizes. He doesn't just say, "I'm sorry." He explains why he was wrong and how he wants to change. For good measure, Kaoruko apologizes too and explains her own side of things. And things are good again, and their romance progresses. This, to me, is the magic of Fragrant Flower. Conflict is inevitable, both here and in real life. But resolution, honesty, is not. It's a choice, something active you have to do in order to make things right. By making the world demonstrably more intense than real life, this show is doing two clever things. First, it's a nice nod to the ways that everything feels a bit like life and death when you're a teenager. But second, and more importantly, it makes this choice to say you're sorry a culminating moment. Because if you love someone and apologize and you mean it, that's enough. I mean, obviously not all of the time, but for conflicts like the ones in this show, it is. It can be hard to say you're sorry. It's admitting that you were wrong and that you hurt someone that you care about. Every character in this show is extremely in touch with their emotions, and they are desperate to love those around them. They're complicated, wounded, hopeful, but most of all, they're kind. In a world where everything is tangibly fictional, the ways that they feel are intensely relatable. The apologies are excessive sometimes, but they are the whole reason that we're here. Life is complicated. Love is not. Seeing the simplicity of love prevail over everything else is why the "I'm sorries" carry so much weight. Each one peels back more of who our characters are and pushes them closer to each other. The Fragrant Flower Blooms with Dignity uses an over-the-top setting to emphasize the simplicity of acknowledging and owning up to your actions. As a manga reader of this series too, I don't think this formula grows old, even hundreds of chapters later. It's not uncommon to see grand romance anime with similarly grand conflicts and resolutions. It's also not uncommon to see simple romances that ramp up the emphasis for conflicts and major plot points. But this formula, using simple and effective conversation to diffuse extreme circumstances, is unique, and in my opinion gives the emotional beats more weight. So yes, Fragrant Flower is an apology simulator, but that's kind of the entire point. And that ends this episode of Love and Anime. I hope you enjoyed, and honestly, if you're someone for whom Fragrant Flower didn't click, let me know why you agree or disagree with my points. I'd love to read your comments below. If you enjoyed the video today, liking and subscribing helps a ton, as does hitting the hype button on the mobile app. I'm Slam Anime, and I'll see you next time.